Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro. 1, 2,
3. All right, welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Yeah.
Don't shout at me. I'm a guest.
That would be news anchor John Schaefer, who's sporting his Vegas Golden Knights shirt. Yeah, we like it.
Go.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, welcome back to the show. Coming up here at the bottom of the hour, we're going to speak to Delaney Tarr. She's a Parkland survivor, started the organization March for Our Lives. Really looking forward to talking to her. Speaking of the Vegas Golden Knights, John Schaefer, I'm not sure you can find somebody that is more knowledgeable when it comes to the Knights and NHL hockey than poker superstar Daniel Negreanu. He's going to preview the game tonight.
Cool.
Are you going to the game, by the way?
I'm not.
You're going to watch it on TV, though, right?
I will watch it on TV.
It's going to be a bloodbath.
I know. It would be more of a bloodbath if Evander Kane was still playing.
I wish Evander Kane was out there, but I have a feeling, I almost never bet on hockey, but I have a feeling that the Knights are going to destroy them tonight.
I hope.
I'm thinking like a 5-2, 6-1.
Revenge.
I think so. I'd be shocked if they lost tonight. But anyway, besides the Vegas Golden Knights, what else is going on in the news, Mr. Schaefer?
Well, a mournful mayor, the lighting of candles, a tolling bell, and the reading of the names of the dead ended the anniversary of the deadliest mass shooting in the nation's modern history here in Las Vegas. Mayor Carolyn Goodman yesterday urged a hushed audience to remember the 58 lives lost in the nearly 11 minutes of gunfire that began at 10:05 p.m. on October 1st, 2017. Goodman called the shooting senseless and without any cause or purpose.
Yeah, I think the mayor did a great job.
Yeah.
I also got to give Steve Sisolak a lot of credit.
God, that was...
It was really powerful.
Yeah.
How many governors do you see after a tragedy like that? Like the El Paso governor. Did you see him emotional crying? Of course not. And, I understand that everybody deals with things differently. I get that. But I thought the fact that Sisolak showed that kind of emotion 2 years after, it just tells me that, you can disagree with some of his politics, but he cares.
Yeah.
He cares about this city. That's the kind of guy that I want running, this state. A guy like that. Yeah, and I thought that was extremely powerful. And I just want to say I thought the city did a great job yesterday throughout Las Vegas and throughout the state. I thought there were some great things honoring the victims, families, and first responders. And we had some great calls yesterday from first responders. So I appreciated all the calls yesterday. And I thought it was really great to remember those that we lost and to honor those that saved lives, the heroes.
Impeachment fever may be sweeping Washington, but advocates of gun control don't think that's a reason to put on hold their effort to find bipartisan solutions to gun violence. 9 Democrats seeking their party's presidential nomination set to attend a forum on gun policy today here in Las Vegas. The forum's organizers want the candidates to showcase their plans to deal with what they see as an epidemic in the U.S.
Yes, and we will be discussing that here coming up in a few minutes.
It was originally 10 candidates, but Bernie Sanders' campaign says the Democratic presidential candidate has had a heart procedure for a blocked artery. He's canceling events and appearances until further notice. Campaign says the 78-year-old Sanders experienced chest discomfort during an event Tuesday and sought medical evaluation. 2 stents were successfully inserted. Sanders is conversing and in good spirits. His campaign manager, Faiz Shakir, said the state of the campaign is strong, and he played up Sanders' strong fundraising total for the third quarter. All this happened here in Las Vegas. That's where Sanders is hospitalized.
What do you think his copay was? You think he had free health care for that surgery? That's what I'd like to know.
Guessing there's probably not a lot of copay on the government health care plan.
If he gets a heart transplant, does he have to pay for that, or is it free?
I don't know.
I wonder. That's a question we'll have to ask him. I'm sorry.
And does he get to pick whose heart he gets?
Yes. I wonder.
Well, over in Japan, Morinaga Milk Industries has recently started selling a mayonnaise-flavored ice cream bar.
Oh, gross.
Goes by the name Calorie Monster Cheerio Creamy Mayonnaise Flavor.
Ugh.
The bar is said to have a white chocolate center surrounded by the mayonnaise-flavored ice cream, all encased in a shell of white chocolate and cookie crumbs.
Okay, when I go to Subway or whatever sandwich shop, I always ask for extra mayo on everything, but that is something I will not be buying. When I'm having ice cream, I don't want a flavor of mayonnaise.
You don't get extra mayo on your banana split?
Absolutely not. That is so gross. That is so disgusting, although I know JD would probably eat
I don't know.
just about anything.
Might send him back to the bathroom again.
Yeah, that's true. How was that bathroom visit, by the way? I heard you exploded the toilet.
It was necessary.
You're older now, so it's going to get harder and harder as the years go by.
Well, I'll tell you what. You mentioned mayonnaise.
That's tough to hear, John.
Mayonnaise
That's bothersome.
Mayonnaise ice cream is enough for me to want to go to the bathroom and vomit.
Exactly.
It's almost as tough to hear as talking about mayonnaise ice cream. Because
That's pretty bad.
That's just disgusting.
Yeah.
I would never consider trying
So
that.
I remember that it was Ben and Jerry's that came up with the flavor Sweaty Balls. That was actually a flavor.
Yeah, but Ben and Jerry's does it right. Always.
You think that's doing it right?
I bet it was good.
Okay, I'll leave that one alone. I don't know.
It was. It was whatever flavor those cookies were from Alec Baldwin before he was Trump on Saturday Night Live.
Fair enough. All right, well, no mayonnaise. Don't bring any of that stuff in, please.
Right.
It's disgusting. Mr. Schaefer, thank you so much for the news of the day. We will catch up with you tomorrow. Now, as you heard John talk about in his report there, MSNBC anchor Craig Melvin is moderating right now as we speak this gun policy-centered event. Of course, yesterday marked the 2-year anniversary of the mass shooting at the Country Festival. Now, the forum this morning features 10 Democratic candidates. The only person will not be there, obviously, is Bernie Sanders. He's got some health issues going on. So, coming up here in just a few minutes, we're going to speak with Delaney Tarr. She is a Parkland survivor, part of the March for Our Lives campaign. Now, we talk about gun control on this show, and it's a huge part of what's going on in society today, sadly, with all these mass shootings that have taken place and gun violence. What is it, 40,000 people have died since Trump took office due to gun violence? But it is something, sadly, that is trending in this country. And it seems like we talk about it on a weekly basis. That is mass shootings. 58 people lost their lives 2 years ago. All they were doing were festival goers, watching a concert. Now, the NRA does not want these things to happen. What I mean by that is the NRA does not want these gun control forums because it makes them look bad. The NRA doesn't want less guns. They want more guns, not because they care about your safety, not because they care about the safety of Americans. Make no mistake about it. It has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. It has everything to do with the NRA making profits. The gun makers making profits. Because the more gun laws that are put in place, the more gun legislation, or lack thereof, but the more gun laws that are put in the books means less guns will be on the streets. If there's less guns on the streets and it makes it more difficult for gun owners to purchase guns, maybe it's the first time you're purchasing a gun or you want to buy some more guns, or whether it's ammunition. If you put red flag laws on the books, if you put those types of things on the books that many Democrats want, and I think some like-minded Republicans want. If you do that, it means that it's going to be less profits for those gun manufacturers, less money for the NRA. So when people want to say that the NRA is out for our best interest to protect the Second Amendment, I don't understand that argument. Because to me, this has nothing to do with the Second Amendment. I've never spoken in my personal life to one Democrat. I've never heard one politician say they want to take all your guns away. That is a right-wing talking point. Even Beto O'Rourke, who I don't necessarily agree with most of the time, when he said he wants to take your AR-15s away and your AK-47s away. Listen, I understand where he was coming from. I might have approached it differently. This is his home state that has had several mass shootings in the last couple months. Of course, it's going to be personal to him. He's spoken to the victims and their families. And by the way, let me also note, when he was speaking to those victims and their families, when he was going to hospitals, he wasn't talking about the record crowds he had at campaign rallies, unlike Donald Trump. I appreciate what Beto O'Rourke did because I think he showed a lot of passion. Compassion, I guess would be the word, is in this difficult time where all these people have lost their lives, not just in El Paso, throughout the country, right here in Las Vegas. So what has happened since this October 1 shooting? And I'm sure they're talking about it right now, and we'll talk to Delaney Tarr coming up here in a few minutes. What has happened since the October 1 shooting? Well, we don't have bump stocks. Big deal. These types of weapons that were used, these types of weapons that Paddock used at Mandalay Bay are still on the market. The types of ammunition that was sold, still on the market. You can buy 250 rounds of ammunition. You could buy as many of these assault weapons as you want. Nothing has changed. And you would think after the Sandy Hook shooting, when a bunch of 7- and 8-year-old innocent kids were ripped apart and died, you would have thought that something would have happened. Okay, now something needs to happen when it comes to gun control. Now something needs to happen when it comes to responsible gun ownership. We need red flag laws. And I've been pretty consistent on this. I don't want every gun taken away from you. I never have. I think like many people, what I want, background checks. I want red flag laws on the books. The Parkland shooter, the police were called to his house 80 times. If red flag laws were put in place, proper red flag laws, that kid would have never been able to purchase a weapon. That kid wouldn't have allowed to have a gun. And maybe, just maybe, that shooting didn't happen. I look at Aurora, Colorado, and we had a lady, a nice young lady who came on the show last week who was in that movie theater when that shooting happened. And I'm telling you right now, if red flag laws were put in place, maybe James Holmes does not buy that weapon. Maybe he can't, because clearly he was seeing a therapist, a psychiatrist, certainly should have never been able to purchase a weapon. Will it stop all gun violence? Absolutely not. Will it stop all mass shootings? Geez, I hope so. Probably not. And I'm not going to make a ridiculous claim that it would. What I'm trying to say is when people call up and they say, we shouldn't do anything. People should be allowed to buy assault weapons, blah, 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 blah. When people make comments like that and they call in, I ask them one specific question. What would you do? Should you not do anything? Should we not do anything when it comes to all this gun violence and mass shootings? Should we not do anything? And I don't get an answer because they don't know what to say. I get some idiots that call up and they say, well, more guns is the answer. We want more guns. Yeah, they want every teacher to have a gun, every principal to have a gun, every hall monitor, every substitute teacher to have a gun. That is ridiculous. I want to hear you out if you disagree, but I do believe that many of these assault weapons should not be on the streets. They should not be sold publicly. And I applaud Walmart, Kroger's, and some of these other places for what they're doing. I do see a trend now. I do see things are changing. But as long as we have that useless piece of garbage, Mitch McConnell, I don't think anything's going to get done. And don't you tell me that the NRA isn't in the president's ear. And don't you tell me that the president is not influenced by the NRA. Right after these shootings, the mass shooting in Walmart, the mass shooting in Texas, El Paso, right after the shooting here in Las Vegas, the president was talking tough. We want some background check laws put in place. We want more in place. We want red flag laws. The president said those things, not me. And then what happens after this El Paso shooting? He meets with the head of the NRA, and all of a sudden, all he wants to talk about is mental illness. Now, that's fine. Mental illness is part of this problem. But all of a sudden, he stops talking about background checks. He stops talking about red flag laws. Why? Make no mistake about it. Because he met with the head of the NRA. They are influential, sadly, on many of our Republicans that are in office, including the President of the United States. Number to call if you want to be a part of the program is 257-5396. Again, that number, 257-5396. What do you think about all this? Let's start with Michael. Michael, what's going on?
Good morning.
Morning, Michael.
With some of the points you mentioned about the red flag laws and, some Republicans concerned about having their guns taken away. Why not maybe possibly with the gun registration, just starting with the ARs?
Sure.
And then taking steps from there. Obviously, we want to address the red flags and people with mental health issues and concerns about them obtaining a weapons. But maybe I think previous caller once, a couple days or a week ago, mentioned about like a license for the ARs.
Yeah, I like that. Michael.
So that way, okay.
I like that.
And then you do the registration or have stipulations.
Sure.
All right. You get to register it again, renew it.
Yeah.
You still have the weapon. If
that's a great point.
The weapon, disappears.
Mm-hmm.
You have a certain time period. It has to be reported.
That's a great point, Michael. And I think, Michael, I know what you're referring to with a caller that called in last week. I thought it was a brilliant call where he said, listen, when you drive a car, you have to renew your driver's license, right? You have to get a smog check. Why not do the same thing with some of these guns? Renew your license for the gun. I agree. As far as an AR-15 registration program, I also agree with you. That is something where Republicans and Democrats need to come together. And at least, Michael, we can start there. Yeah,
I agree. It's a start, because I think that the whole notion of all gun registration right now, I think, is going for the home run, whereas they're going to fear the gun confiscation. Now, whether you agree, that it's a possibility or disagree with it, but
right.
I think right now on the table, it's for them. It's just here's a list of everybody who owns a gun. Now we can go ahead and go forth and take them, and that could create other problems possibly.
Yeah.
But I think just with the start of the ARs, and then as time goes by, you tweak it and see if you have to go more in depth with it or you expand it. Time will tell and see what kind of results we get from it.
Well, Michael, I think you come up with some great ideas there, and I appreciate the call. Thank you so much.
Right.
I hope Republicans and Democrats can come together and do that because I think it's a wonderful idea. 257-5396 is the number to call. Why don't we go to Gary? Gary, what's going on?
Yes, sir. Okay. I want to talk about the bump stock to a certain degree only. Okay. Then I want to go into the ammo.
Okay, quickly, because
quickly, please.
Okay? Yes.
Okay. Now, you can get a rubber band, put it around 45.
And it turns into a bump stock. I know exactly what you're going to say, and I agree with you.
Okay.
Yes, I understand.
Now, you got tension on there, and she'll act like a machine gun. Okay?
I understand.
Now,
No,
your
I agree.
clips, 10 rounders. What to stop anybody to electric weld or weld 2 clips together? That's 20 rounds.
Gary, nothing.
Right
Gary, no, I agree with you. Nothing could stop somebody from doing that, and that's why I'm saying getting rid of these bump stocks is useless. I agree.
That's right.
I agree.
Now, man has been killing man ever since he's been walking. That's what it amounts to. Okay? You'll never stop it. Now, if they want to outrule guns, okay?
Well, nobody wants to do that.
Okay, well, let's just say they did.
Well, but they don't.
What's the next step? Bombs?
But Gary, they don't. No Democrat is saying they want to get rid of all your guns. And so I'm not sure. I'm not even going to entertain that discussion because it doesn't make any sense to me. 257-5396 is the number to call. Let's go to John. John, you're next on the Vegas Take. John, what's going on? John, are you there? Did we lose John? I think we might have lost John.
No, I'm right here.
Okay, sorry about that, John. What's on your mind? Go ahead.
So I want to call in and discuss the fact that I entirely and wholeheartedly disagree with your stance here.
Okay, tell me why.
The gun issue. Number one, I feel like you want to take away my rights.
No, I don't.
Yes, you do.
No, I don't. You're 100%. No, you're not. You have the right to carry a gun and defend yourself. I would never take that away from you.
Okay.
That is an extreme. No, that's an extreme view.
What I'm talking about is my right to do what I want under the Constitution, and that is legal.
The Constitution never says that you can have a bazooka gun. The Constitution doesn't say that you could have a tanker in your front yard. And I do believe that
Okay, that's not a thing.
What do you mean that's not a thing?
Nobody's talking about wanting a bazooka. Nobody's talking about
wanting
a tank.
There are some people that go to the extremes that think they can do what they want. You can't do what you want.
It's just like you keep saying that the Democrats are not saying they want to take away all guns.
Okay, well, find me one Democrat.
They really don't.
Okay, so find me.
When that's not the truth.
Okay,
the truth is they're not going to tell you that they don't.
So you think
that they're going to take all the guns away?
I just want to be clear.
They know that would be a problem, so they do it in increments.
All right. Hang on, John. So it's your position that you believe that all Democrats want to take all your guns away. Is that your position?
100%.
Okay, well, that's utterly ridiculous. There's no proof to back that up. You can't name me one Democrat in office that has ever said on the record that they want to take all your guns away. I know, but
listen to what I'm saying.
You're not listening to what I'm saying. You just said all Democrats want to
say that, Brian. Why?
You're a conspiracy theorist.
Political suicide for them to come out and say that.
Well, guess what? Unlike you,
stupid enough to do it.
Guess what? Unlike you, I actually speak to some of these politicians on a regular basis, and they're not one of them that think what you think they think, if that makes sense. That is a right-wing talking point.
You've talked to all of them?
Have I spoken to every single Democrat in office? No, that's a ridiculous question. Almost as ridiculous as you thinking that.
It's a ridiculous statement that you can say that none of them believe that.
Name me one person that has ever said that they want to take all your guns away. Give me one Democrat, just one.
Ask you a question,
no, I just asked you a question. I'm not going to. No, you don't ask me a question.
Let me ask you a question.
No. I asked.
What do you propose to do about DUI deaths?
What do I propose? Why would you even ask that question? We're talking about gun control.
DUI deaths far and away exceed gun deaths, but nobody's talking about banning alcohol. Why not?
If I had my way, I would ban alcohol.
Okay, so why don't
has nothing to do with guns?
Why don't we? I don't drink either. How come we don't start a petition?
It's the same. I'll answer your question.
Alcohol to save lives. If you're interested in saving,
I'll answer your question.
Why don't we save the most lives?
I'll answer your question. It's the same reason why we're not banning guns, certain types of guns. You know why? Because there's too much money involved. The government is making too much money. They would never ban alcohol, no matter how many DUI deaths are out there. And the reason why is money. And for you to come on this show and to call in and say that you believe that all Democrats want to take all your guns away makes you an ignoramus, with all due respect. There is not one logical person, not one logical Republican that doesn't lie that thinks that. But the problem with people like you is you watch Fox News and you listen to right-wing talk show hosts that make it sound like every single Democrat out there wants to take all your guns away when Beto O'Rourke doesn't even want to do that. You got me so angry my voice went back to puberty. Don't call back. 257-5396. Nobody wants to hear that voice. 257-5396. Let's squeeze in one more call. Let's go to Matt. Matt, what's going on?
Hey, what's up, guys? Real quick. Just wanted to sort of get your take on the idea of gun insurance. Not sure if you have looked into the concept at all, but the idea that, if you have a license to drive a car, you also have to have insurance in case something happened with that vehicle.
I'm okay with that.
Similarly, if you had insurance that, say was based on the caliber or the mass murder capacity of the weapon or something like that.
I'm okay with that, but I think
the payouts would be astronomical almost every single time, though.
I don't think it's logical.
Because if you shot someone and say they had a good job, or they had a couple of kids, or they had a bunch of dependents, I mean, you would be looking at consistent high seven-figure settlements. I don't think it would make any sense.
Yeah, I don't think it would happen, Matt. I think I'm more interested in, for example, when you drive a vehicle, you have to renew your driver's license. I think with guns, I like the idea of having to renew your license to own a gun. And what that means,
I actually love that idea.
And what that means is, if you've done something that what a mentally ill person would do, we'll see that in the background check.
And I wish that it trickled down into social media as well, because a lot of people give away their red flags on social media now.
All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, Delaney Tarr, Parkland survivor. She is in the March for Our Lives campaign. She's one of the brave people that started it. She'll be joining us next. You're listening to The Vegas Take. It is The Vegas Take. Shapiro, so glad you could join us. As I mentioned, MSNBC, as we speak, holding gun control, gun policy forum, close to the 2-year anniversary of the October 1 shooting here. And, a lot of people have started this process, including this March for Our Lives, brought up by a bunch of students, Parkland survivors who are activists now, gun activists, and they've done a phenomenal job. One of those activists is Delaney Tarr. She hid in a closet as the gunman in Parkland killed 17 students and faculty members. This is Delaney, in her own words, speaking in 2018 in D.C. for the March for Our Lives rally.
We cannot move on. If we move on, the NRA and those against us will win. They want us to forget. They want our voices to be silenced, and they want to retreat into the shadows where they can remain unnoticed. They want to be back on top, unquestioned in their corruption. But we cannot and we will not let that happen.
Those are the words of Delaney Tarr, and she joins us right now live on the line. She is in town for this event, this primary gun policy forum. Delaney, thank you so much for joining us. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here.
I've spoken to Mr. Gutenberg. He's been on the show before, but I've never actually spoken to a student from those Parkland shootings that took place. When you wake up every day, what do you remember about that fateful day that will live with you forever?
Every day that I wake up and every day that I walk this life, I am reminded of the reason that I am here and what brought me here. And I think that's an incredibly important thing for every activist from Parkland and from any other community impacted by gun violence, is that we take their deaths in stride and we fight for them. We fight for every victim of gun violence all across America, and we fight so that nobody else has to experience that pain. Mm-hmm. It's the fire in my belly. It's what fuels me and keeps me going and makes me know that we can make this world a better place.
And I have so much respect for you and so much respect for your fellow classmates starting this March for Our Lives campaign, which, make no mistake about it, is making a difference as we speak. What do you say to people out there like Marco Rubio and others on the right that just refuse to pass legislation? Mitch McConnell, who has a chance right now for a vote to be possibly passed, does nothing about it. If you're talking to Mitch McConnell right now, what would you say to him?
I mean, the thing that I stress to every single politician that we communicate with is that this is policy that is life-saving. We have this policy. We've actually just recently released the Peace Plan, which creates comprehensive gun legislation. And we've shown this to politicians, and we will continue to show this to our legislators, that there are options. There are so many different avenues that you can take to lessen the issue and the burden of gun violence in America, because it truly is an epidemic. It's one that needs to be addressed not as a Republican issue or a Democrat issue, but as one of saving lives. And that's really all that we care about, is saving lives through comprehensive gun safety legislation.
Delaney, I ask this to pretty much everyone that comes on the show when we're talking about gun violence, but do you think that the Second Amendment should be revisited, considering the fact that, when it was written in 1789 it was, the musket was the most dangerous weapon, and a musket could kill one person in maybe 1 minute. Now you have these weapons where you can shoot off 50 rounds in 1 minute, and you could take out 45 or 50 people. Do you think that the Second Amendment should be revisited to match modern technology?
I mean, make no mistake, the March for Our Lives and every single gun safety organization is a staunch supporter of the Second Amendment. However, we understand that there are reasonable laws that need to be put in place. Things like a ban on assault weapons, bans on high-capacity magazines, buyback programs, universal background checks. We live in a very, very different world, as you said, than we once did before. And we need to create legislation that is comprehensive and addresses the needs of our society and America as we know it today.
If you're just joining us, we're speaking with Delaney Tarr. She is a Parkland survivor, one of the students, one of many students who started this March for Our Lives campaign, and I have so much respect for her and her fellow students. Okay, so do you, first of all, let's start here from a human element, and I hate to go back to this, but I don't think many people were ever in the situation that you were in, sadly, where you have to hide in a closet in the Parkland school there and not know if these are the last moments of your life. Do you think that if some of these Republicans that disagree with you or their kids were in a situation like that maybe they would change their mind? And can you describe to people the horror that you had to go through in those moments, not knowing whether you were going to make it out of there alive?
Truth be told, it is an experience that I wish upon nobody, no matter their affiliation, their opinions, their parties. It's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that extends beyond the side that you represent, what views you may have. As my friend says, bullet wounds don't discriminate against red or blue. And I find that to be incredibly pertinent and poignant. Mm-hmm. It's a traumatic, horrible experience that I have taken and I continue to recount for those around me, and I use it to fuel my pain and my passion, but it's not something I wish upon anyone else. And that's why we keep this fight up. We keep this fight going for those who haven't yet experienced gun violence, so that they never have to, mm-hmm. so that my younger sister, so that your younger sister, your
right.
cousin, your daughter, your friend doesn't have to know this experience.
Delaney,
Nobody should know this.
Absolutely. Delaney, I would imagine you're friends with David Hogg, one of many students like you that have come together for this March for Our Lives campaign. What do you make it when someone on TV, on Fox News, like a Laura Ingraham, goes after you guys, personally goes after David Hogg, goes after his grades, and then you have people like these morons on InfoWars that call you guys actors? You know, they don't think this is real. I mean, there are a lot of nut jobs out there, but sadly, some of them have a national platform, like the Laura Ingrams of the world, who seem to go after you guys on a regular basis. What do you make of people like her?
We have plenty of naysayers. We have people who send us hate and cruelty. And truthfully, the only thing that shows me is that we're doing something right. If we are pissing off the people who are in power and who are corrupt and who are backed by the NRA, then that means that we're doing something right. This may be a controversial issue to some, but for us, it is justice, and it is justice we fully plan on serving.
Do you believe that Scott Peterson should be considered complicit in this particular situation? And what do you think the appropriate amount of security and how many exits should be covered for the average high school now?
I believe that there are many different solutions to the epidemic of gun violence, but for us, what we choose to focus on every single day is that comprehensive gun legislation. It is the peace plan. It's not necessarily a patch on a much deeper issue. This is getting to the root of the cause, and that is our focus. It's always the root of the cause, not a Band-Aid.
Two more quick questions for you. I know you have to go. Beto O'Rourke, he said that he wants a mandatory buyback of these assault weapons. Do you agree with that, and do your fellow classmates agree with that?
One of the components of our peace plan, as I have mentioned before, is actually a national gun buyback program. We have many different components to our legislative processes and push, and I find it always incredible to see any candidate specifically speak out on these policies that we continue to push for, because it is something that needs to be spoken on, and this is the time to talk about it.
All right, Delaney, last question for you. We know that you are in Las Vegas for this primary gun policy forum. By the way, where is it? Where are you right now?
We are in a venue in Las Vegas right now. Obviously, I don't know the city very well, but it feels incredibly powerful and pertinent to be here the day after the 2-year anniversary.
How's it going?
To know that we've had these moments of community and understanding. We had the governor speak about that day, that fateful, painful day, and it is this shared experience. And to know that we are part of this unfortunate club, but a club that is trying to make so much change and make the world so much of a better place. It takes something so tragic and we make it uplifting. And I think that is a testament to the power of every person who fights against the epidemic of gun violence in every single capacity.
No doubt. One more quick question. Has anyone said anything or that you can recall even this morning that you said to myself, wow, I really like that idea? Has a Democratic candidate said something where you kind of turned around to one of your friends and said, wow, I really like that? What can you share with us, maybe a moment this morning that you take away from this?
I mean, obviously the event is still in its fledgling stages. We're beginning. We've got candidates filtering in, but Gabby Giffords, as always, is an incredibly powerful woman, survived an assassination attempt on her and continues to fight against gun violence today. And simply hearing her speak about courage and having that courage to fight for yourself and fight for others, it provides such inspiration every single day.
Well, that's very powerful. Delaney, let me tell you something. You yourself and many of your other fellow former students at Parkland certainly do that for everybody. As far as I'm concerned, you certainly do that for me. It really is an inspiration. Keep up the great work. We'd love to talk to you guys again sometime down the road, okay?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. It was so nice to talk to you.
Yeah, nice to talk to you as well.
Delaney.
Very nice, very intelligent young lady, Delaney Tarr. I tell you, man, forget for 1 second, if you can, everybody, including you, JD. Forget for a second what your political beliefs are. Forget for a second even what your opinions are when it comes to gun legislation. Let me just say this, and then I want to get your take on it. These students are heroes. These students are so brave, so intelligent, so articulate. And again, whether you agree or disagree with them, JD, this poor girl was in a closet hiding from the shooter in the Parkland shooting, not knowing whether she was going to survive or not. These people need to be heard, and they are being heard. And I applaud her. And I just think she's so brave. And her story is amazing, right? I mean, you would agree with me on that.
I mean, that was a pretty polished interview. She actually avoided answering all of my questions, and it almost sounded scripted, to be honest with you, Brian.
Oh, I don't think so. I don't think it was scripted. Listen, I don't think so. Look, you asked her a question about Scott Peterson. That's not why she's here. She's not here to talk about Scott Peterson. She's here to talk about gun control. She's not here to talk about a cowardly security guard who didn't do his job.
No, I asked her what the appropriate amount of security should be at the front of every single high school. And if Peterson had done his job, this probably would not have taken place.
No, that's not true.
I mean, he would have stopped a lot of it.
He could have stopped it, and people still would have died.
A lot less people would have died. And if there was more,
perhaps,
if there was more security,
perhaps. But keep in mind, he has a handgun,
I understand.
And the guy in the school has an assault weapon.
That's why I brought it up, and I get it. Assault weapons are a big deal, obviously, as well.
It would have been nice.
As is the ammunition used.
It would have been nice if she could have answered that. I agree with you. However, understand this, and I think you do. She is here for one main reason only. The March for Our Lives The March for Our Lives campaign is here for gun safety, to end gun violence, to put laws in place that will change the course of history. And that's what she's here to do. That's what this gun policy forum is about. It's not really about security, for these schools. So I understand why maybe she didn't want to answer that, but she certainly answered all my questions eloquently, and I really appreciate her coming on. I can't stand these people like Mr. Fatso Infowars and some of these other people on the right. Laura Ingraham is a witch as far as I'm concerned. She is a racist witch.
I'll tell you what.
Evil person. And by the way, her own brother agrees.
Yeah.
Her own brother. Laura Ingram's brother has called her out for her nonsense.
Alex Jones has made a lot of money off situations like this.
Well, that's what it's about.
It is.
It's for Alex Jones. It's not about hurting.
It comes down to clicks and ratings. He doesn't care who he hurts or what he says and how ridiculous it is.
That is an absolute scumbag. And, there are people that listen to that sort of nonsense. There are people that listen to that crap. They think that these people are actors. No, let me tell you something. You could agree or disagree with these students like Delaney Tarr, but they're no actors. Okay? Their fellow classmates died. Okay? She had to hide in a closet. Have you ever been in a situation like that where there was an active shooter and you had to hide under a desk or hide in a closet when you were 17 or 18 years old? No, I don't think so. I don't think so, Alex Jones. All Alex Jones cares about is clicks and money. You're right.
I'm not sure I could be that polished on a well-listened to radio show like ours had I been in that situation.
Well, you would.
So props to you, Delaney. Props to you.
You would if you had to do 500 interviews over the course of the last 2 years.
I suppose that's possible.
This isn't her first go-around. She's been doing these types of interviews for 2 years, as did David Hogg. And by the way, we are going to eventually get David Hogg on the show. I've been wanting to get him on for a long time. But going back to this Laura Ingraham thing, right? I mean, look, this is the same woman who says LeBron James, shut up and dribble, right? This is the same woman who, a week after Nipsey Hussle dies, decides to go after his lyrics. She's a racist. She's a witch. She hides behind her religion. And remember when she went after David Hogg and she went after his grades? Because she's an awful human being. Anybody who would go after a child's grades, and by the way, David Hogg has some pretty good grades, by the way, and he's in Harvard right now. Any woman who can't debate the actual gun, or man, who can't debate the actual gun issue and goes after David Hogg's grades is an awful human being, period. If you want to have that gun debate and you want to say, well, I disagree with these students and here's why, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
You want to go after his grades. I mean, that it doesn't make any sense. You want to go after his experience, his credentials. Why should someone of his age be leading, despite the fact that obviously he was involved in the Parkland shooting?
Why go after his credentials?
I'm just saying.
Why not just go after substance?
If you want to go after something like that, that makes a little more sense. But yeah, going after his grades, it's pretty much irrelevant.
But I kind of disagree with what you said, his credentials. Who cares if he's 15 or 40?
The question that a lot of Republicans had was, why is this young man who was obviously involved, he was a part of the Parkland shooting, he was there, he had friends that died, but why is he suddenly now so educated and so experienced enough to literally create new gun laws or to be the leader, the new advocate for gun control and legislation in the United States of America? I think that's the question that was being asked. And Laura Ingraham, of course, went about it the wrong way by saying, oh, his grades weren't good enough, and that was the wrong way to approach it.
Can it be possible that this is an intelligent young man who the days after the shooting did research and feels very passionate about this issue and wants to make changes for the good of the American people? Can't that be a possibility? Can't there be no other motive for many of these kids other than to do something in the name of those who were lost? Can't that be a possibility? Can't it be possible that all these kids are good-hearted individuals that were never into politics before, but they lost so many young people and faculty members that they said, you know what, we're going to stand up for this. We're going to do something about it. We don't want what happened to us to happen to anyone else. Here's what we think should happen. Can't that be possible?
If we get David Hogg, I am very excited for the interview. We're going to have a lot of questions for him.
But can't that be possible?
Of course it's possible.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So why is it that so many people want to attack these poor kids? I don't understand. Because there's no evidence to support the fact that they're actors. There's no evidence to support the fact they're getting paid for something.
And I think that people believe that maybe they are creating a public platform for themselves through the situation that happened at Parkland.
Well, you know what? Kudos to David Hogg. If he wants to be a politician one day, I'd vote for him.
Absolutely.
He's a very smart young man.
I'm not suggesting that it's a bad thing. But would you know who David Hogg was if not for Parkland?
I think that's it's a bad thing, of course, what happened to Parkland. But it's a good thing that some of these very intelligent young people are coming forward and speaking their mind. And you know what? It goes to show, at least for me, it doesn't matter how old you are. You can start a movement. If you are passionate, if you truly believe in a cause, you can start a real movement.
Especially in this digital age where everything moves so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
All it takes is, and once it goes viral and you've got hundreds of thousands or millions of people supporting you, then other major companies, politicians, once you have millions of people supporting you, people have to pay attention. And once they're paying attention, then you're in a position to create some type of change because like you matter. Your voice can touch so many different people and they're following you, and you can affect whatever issue you're going after in a negative way. And these major companies and these politicians, they understand that. Mm-hmm. And that has to do with the internet. I mean, that's why Donald Trump was elected president, because he leveraged Twitter the way he did.
It's certainly one of the big reasons. I wouldn't disagree with that, but listen, the problem is there are so many people on extreme ends of the issue, and there are so many people that are not educated on these issues.
And they're tearing the country apart.
Well, we had a guy who just called in. It's a perfect example. He called in last hour, and he said that he believes that every Democrat wants to get rid of all guns. It is one of the most absurd things that Republicans can say. There is not one Democrat out there that wants to get rid of every single gun and get rid of the Second Amendment. Not one, not even Beto O'Rourke. We're talking about specific guns. We're talking about assault weapons. And if you disagree with Beto O'Rourke, that's fine. But he doesn't. He said it time and time again. He doesn't think that you don't have the right to protect yourself. Everyone has the right to carry a firearm if they're responsible. They've never committed a felony. They pass background checks. That's not what this discussion is about. And this March for Our Lives campaign is not about that either. They want what Beto O'Rourke wants. They want some of these high-powered magazine, these assault weapons off the streets. Now, if you disagree with that, fine. I'll tell you why I disagree with you. But why is it that people out there think that Democrats want to take all your guns away when not one Democrat has ever said that? At least not one Democrat in office. I mean, maybe there are some nut jobs on the left. If somebody on the left said they want to take all your guns away, I'd call them a nut. Because that's ridiculous, and that's not going to happen.
Yeah, that's maniacal. That makes no sense. But not wanting a weapon, a semi-automatic or an automatic or an assault weapon where you can get off 50, 60 rounds in 1 minute and kill 30 or 40 people in public is not unreasonable.
No, not at all.
Not wanting your average citizen to own a Panzer tank or a flamethrower or a bazooka or a rocket launcher is not unreasonable.
And then we hear these idiots, and I agree, and then we hear these idiots that say, well, if they don't have a gun, they'll have a knife. If they don't have a knife, they'll have a car. Yeah, okay, because I'm sure a knife would have killed 58 people in Las Vegas October 1, 2 years ago. It is a ridiculous argument. 257-5396 is the number to call. We'll try to squeeze in a few quick phone calls here. Again, that number is 257-5396. Let's go to Pete. Pete, what's going on?
Hey, Pete.
I've been lucky enough to live among the very wealthy in my life.